Back to February last year, and you may remember the excitement when NASA successfully landed its Perseverance rover on Mars. Well, it's been busy for the last 15 months or so, doing plenty of roving. A recent NASA photo reveals an odd shape on Mars resembling a classic UFO, sparking discussions about a possible extraterrestrial presence. This discovery prompts inquiries into other inhabitants of the universe. The parachute has deployed, and we are seeing significant deceleration. It's a mission that began with a jaw-dropping descent, beaming back real footage of a Mars landing. NASA's documentation of this Mars anomaly triggers online debates urging further exploration of this fascinating UFO sighting. About the Perseverance rover, in 2021, a robot car named Perseverance, also known as Percy, landed on Mars. That was not the regular-sized remote control car NASA used. This car-sized rover was on a mission to find traces of tiny living things that might have existed on Mars many years ago. Packed with top-notch gear, Percy had 7 amazing science tools, 19 cameras to take pictures, and even 2 microphones. The Mastcam Z, which is one of the coolest cameras the rover has, could make high-definition close-up shots of the Martian terrain. NASA had an exclusive Twitter account for followers from everywhere to follow along with Percy's voyage and share in the amazing views it was seeing. Perseverance's mission had a few important jobs. First, it had to search for spots on Mars that might have been good for life to exist a long time ago, like places with water. Then, it would look for any leftover signs of those tiny organisms. It also started collecting rocks and soil samples to keep for later. After May 2022, Percy was supposed to climb up a hill to examine even more rocks and see if they held clues about ancient life. Then, as it rolled back down, it would collect even more rock samples to be picked up by future missions and brought back to Earth for closer inspection. As of today, Percy has been working hard on Mars for over 3 years, making amazing discoveries. One of the most shared images, on April 20, 2021, generated a tremendous sensation, particularly among the UFO chaser community. The photo was a bird's-eye view of Jezero Crater, which was the exploration site for the Perseverance rover. However, it was that dark spot in the background that everybody was staring at. In particular, the silhouette was indeed that of a crashed UFO with Martian soil all around it. This exploration led to a vast number of theories, among which the most frequent one was the crash of an alien UFO on the Red Planet. Before we delve into this object found in Jezero Crater, it is essential that we understand Jezero Crater to have an in-depth comprehension. The dimension of this crater is an incredible 45 kilometers wide gash on the western side of the huge grounded area around AUS Plana. This plain is situated to the north of the equator of Mars. It is in a region called Ceres Major, which researchers are investigating that might have been covered with water some time ago. In addition, Jezero Crater will be another area of interest to scientists, as it was once flooded with water and was probably the cradle of an ancient river delta in the long-gone past. The crater is centrally positioned in Isis Plana of Mars. A super long time ago, a giant meteorite slammed into Mars, leaving behind a huge crater 750 miles, 1,200 kilometers wide. Then, another smaller meteorite crashed in that same area, creating Jezero Crater inside the bigger one. Scientists think these crashes might have made conditions just right for life to exist. They've even found evidence of an ancient river flowing into the crater, forming a delta that's all dried up now. The crater also has clay, which can only form with water, making it a super promising spot to search for places where life might have lived on Mars in the past. Because of its unique features, like the ancient river delta and evidence of water, Jezero Crater is a perfect place to study Mars's history and look for clues of tiny organisms that might have lived there once. This crater is so interesting that the Perseverance rover team even named things after places on Earth they thought were cool. For example, the spot where the rover landed is nicknamed Octavia E. Butler Landing, after a famous science fiction writer who grew up near where the rover was built. Sounds interesting? Yeah, the mysterious object and the speculations. The mysterious object found had a curved side, a raised edge, and a small dent in the middle. This unusual shape sparked a lot of excitement, with some people comparing it to a crashed flying object. This is similar to the Roswell incident that transpired in 1947 in the USA. The shadowy object on Mars looked interesting, and it made people wonder what it was. Scientists didn't think it was a spaceship from another planet, but the strange shape got everyone's attention. It showed how much people are still curious about whether there is life on other planets and what secrets the universe holds. However, some people started doubting the picture. They said it might be a rock that just looked weird or maybe a problem with the camera. They also pointed out that the rover hadn't seen anything like it before. NASA, the U.S. space agency that runs the rover, said the strange thing was a tiny piece of dust that got in the camera's way. This dust made a shadow that looked like a dark spot in the picture. NASA said the shadow only showed up in one picture and wasn't there in any other pictures taken from different angles. This, along with the way the rover takes pictures by putting lots of smaller pictures together, made it even harder to understand what the object was. NASA explained that exploring space is difficult and that there can be a lot of unknowns. Their main goal is to study rocks and see if they can find signs of ancient life on Mars, not to look for spaceships. In the end, they said there wasn't any real proof that aliens existed and that the strange object was just a misunderstanding. The principle of Occam's razor states that, even though NASA cleared things up, figuring out what's out there in space is tricky business. It's tough to tell the difference between natural space rocks and something man-made, especially on Mars or other planets. This is where science becomes super important. Scientists use special methods and rules to ensure they're looking at things the right way, especially when it comes to exciting ideas like UFOs and aliens. Remember the alien spaceship picture from Mars? It turned out it was just a cool rock formation made by ancient volcanoes, not little green men landing their ride. This rock is in a giant area on Mars called the Metis Fossi Formation, which looks like a massive splatter of volcanic material. Others thought the way the radio waves bounced around this area seemed strange, even a little off. But science says that is how the volcanic ash that has piled up here would behave. Space exploration is rich with interesting discoveries, but we must not prejudge ourselves. Just like the alien spaceship, there have been other cases where things that looked strange at first turned out to be natural phenomena. For instance, some blurry pictures were mistaken for insects on Mars, but scientists realized they were just plain old rocks. Even the stars you see in the sky during the night are more likely to be other planets or satellites than spaceships. Scientists use Occam's razor to sort things out. This law implies that the most obvious explanation is usually the most accurate one. Therefore, we should just stick to the most reasonable hypothesis and avoid the wild ones. The search for aliens is an exciting quest, but it must be carried out scientifically. We should scrutinize claims and try to avoid being influenced by enticing claims or our own biases. Scientists use a bunch of methods to ensure they're on the right track. One important approach is comparing different ways of looking for things, like using different telescopes or rovers. They also constantly update their knowledge about what they're looking for and how to find it. The falsifiability principle. We mentioned Occam's razor as a tool to choose the simplest explanation, but science has another tool used in deciphering wild ideas, and that is the falsifiability principle. This concept, introduced by Karl Popper, basically means a scientific theory needs to be disprovable. Imagine something you can never prove wrong, no matter what evidence you find. That's not very scientific. In contrast, good scientific ideas allow you to test them and potentially show they're wrong. This testing through experiments and observations is what separates science from hunches or guesses. Falsifiability helps us ditch ideas that can't be tested. For example, the claim that Earth is young and fossils are fake can't be disproven, no matter how old a rock you find. Someone could argue it's a fake. On the other hand, if we say there are aliens on Mars who are invisible to everything we have, we can't test that either. There's no way to prove they're not there. Imagine we propose there are aliens on Mars that we can spot with our rovers and cameras. That's an idea we can test. We can send missions to Mars, take pictures, gather information, and see if there's any proof of these aliens. If we don't find anything, that theory might be wrong. The cool thing about falsifiability is that it's not just useful for checking out new ideas, it's also important to constantly re-evaluate existing theories as our knowledge and technology improve. Scientific ideas that were once widely accepted can be challenged and changed. This occurs constantly. Theories such as gravity, relativity, and evolution have been around for a long time. However, we continue to seek, test, and refine them. Here's how falsifiability helps with a tricky problem called induction. This means figuring out how we go from observing things over and over to creating scientific laws. Falsifiability solves this by making sure theories are clear and can be tested. We can use logic to analyze these ideas even if a single experiment can't completely disprove them. For sure, not everyone loves falsifiability though. Some scientists say it's a bit too strict and doesn't consider how messy real-life experiments can be. They point out that scientists often rely on other assumptions, kind of like educated guesses, to run their tests. These are called auxiliary hypotheses. We mentioned that falsifiability is a powerful tool, but it doesn't work alone. Imagine a scientist who has a great idea about aliens on Mars that we can detect with rovers. Falsifiability helps them design a solid experiment to test that idea, but how can they be sure their experiment is on the right track? This is where another key concept comes in: peer review. It's like a team of expert reviewers giving your science project a thumbs up or down. These reviewers are scientists themselves who work in the same discipline. They analyze the experiment's design, the way it is done, how data is analyzed, and how results are interpreted. It is a tough but vital process that guarantees that scientific research is quality, accurate, and sound. Think of peer review as a quality check for science. Most scientific journals require research to go through this process before it's published. Peer reviewers work like detectives, looking for mistakes, biases, or even situations where someone may be making stuff up. Peer review identifies these problems and thus guarantees the scientific research quality and influence within the scientific community. For example, a researcher investigating the existence of life on Mars would probably receive their work assessment from experts dealing with Mars. Peer review is not just error finding but collaborative work as well. The reviewers also provide critical feedback and ideas that scientists utilize to enhance their research. It feels like you are working with the finest classmates from all over the world. This collaborative process hones critical thinking and leads scientists to make even more perfect experiments. Peer review generally plays the role of a quality control procedure, thereby assuring research published meets the expectations of the scientific community and can be relied upon. However, peer review is not flawless. For others, the process is sluggish, or reviewers may be biased or overlook something. However, studies show it's still an effective way to catch errors, improve research quality, and make sure scientific findings are trustworthy. The possibility of apophenia and confirmation bias poses hurdles to scientific discovery. We talked about how falsifiability and peer review are powerful engines driving science forward. Nevertheless, there are still barriers to cross despite these tools. For example, a scientist studying UFOs on Mars finds their job is even more complicated due to the need to detect errors and avoid personal biases that might affect their thinking. The tough part here is that the human brain is programmed to spot patterns even where they don't exist. This is known as confirmation bias. We mainly prefer information that confirms our pre-existing beliefs. For instance, a devoted follower of alien beliefs might take a blurry photograph of a rock on Mars and consider it to be a spaceship. Another pitfall is apophenia. It is here that our minds link disconnected things and give everything a purpose. It's like finding your face in the clouds. An example is that somebody may interpret the crop circles in the field as messages from aliens, as a prank instead of hoaxes. The cool thing is that apophenia is normal. We all come across this situation, be it a scientist or a medical practitioner. It's, to some extent, a relic from our caveman life. In those days, the ability to see patterns could be critical for survival. For example, if an early human was in the bush and heard an animal rustling, they might think the animal was a predator and run away. That small step kept them alive. There are various forms of apophenia, such as pareidolia, clustering illusion, confirmation bias, and gambler's fallacy. The phenomenon of pareidolia is the visual or auditory perception of images or sounds from random elements. Someone might see a face on a natural feature or a collection of lines. Clustering illusion involves seeing patterns in events and data when there is no connection between data points. Confirmation bias is the tendency to only accept information that confirms prior beliefs, while gambler's fallacy is the belief that a prior series of events affects a future event, even though the two are unrelated. Apophenia can be seen as synonymous with a disposition toward type 1 errors, false positives in both perception and cognition. It may involve the assignment of unwarranted salience to information in one's environment, thus leading to an increase in false positive errors. These tendencies may remain relatively widespread throughout the population because, in healthy functioning, things perceived as salient are likely to involve real and meaningful patterns. It can be a key cognitive process contributing to risk for psychosis, as individuals with schizophrenia show high rates of such errors in behavioral tasks. It is not limited to those with severe psychopathology, though. It also occurs regularly throughout the general population. Everyday examples could include believing your name was called when hearing random sounds, seeing animals in the clouds, and believing in concepts such as astrology or good luck charms. Furthermore, apophenia can be a feature of paranoia or delusions in individuals with schizophrenia, where they may believe they're under threat due to patterns in media or other aspects of the environment. Delusions, which may include apophenia or patternicity, are one possible symptom of schizophrenia, which has several potential causes, including family history, brain chemistry, environmental exposures, and substance use. Recognizing these cognitive biases is crucial in our quest for truth, particularly in endeavors such as the investigation of UFO phenomena on Mars or other celestial bodies. A discerning approach, coupled with rigorous scientific scrutiny, is essential to separate fact from fiction and advance our understanding of the universe. The importance of exploring UAPs and UFOs lies in studying the unidentified aerial phenomena in the sky of Mars and elsewhere in the solar system, which holds several fundamental significances. First of all, the development of critical and discerning thinking, with an open and curious mind while observing skepticism and a balanced commitment to assessing all pieces of evidence, regardless of size, is fundamental to this research. Any conclusions must be based on verified and proven knowledge, which should not be based on presumptions. Sincerity, as well as humbleness and honesty, are key to recognizing uncertainties and mistakes while accepting mental diversity through open discussions. Through this technique, you can create a space where people can express their varied opinions without fear of embarrassment or offense. The discovery of the UFO phenomenon on Mars and other planets, which is part of our solar system, is fundamental because of its significance in the search for the existence of extraterrestrial life. Our task is to systematically analyze cases of unexplained phenomena and anomalies to see whether those phenomena are of natural origin or rather of human-made origin. The discovery or finding of life beyond Earth can have profound scientific, philosophical, and ethical implications. Scientifically, it implies the investigation of nature and its laws, the acquisition of new information, and the development of existing theories. In the philosophical sense, it invites reflection on the problem of existence, thus enlarging our mental image of reality and existence. From an operational point of view, the analysis of UAP allows us to conduct experiments, launch models, and enlarge our knowledge about the universe. Its philosophical dimension contributes to the development of our concept of reality, existence, and knowledge, providing us with vital insights into ourselves and the universe. However, the ethical examination of UAPs is concerned with moral obligations, ethical principles, and decision-making processes. It encompasses the performance of duties, exhibiting respect, and maintaining our comprehension of the universe and where humanity's place is in it. Finally, the aesthetic factor and the possibility of an extraterrestrial life form interacting with us may change the way we look at the world and our hopes for the future. It makes us rethink ourselves in terms of other species' purposes, their objectives, the consequences of their presence, and the way it affects our identity and society. Answering these questions means exploring the intersection of science, philosophical reflection, and ethical thinking. It will certainly bring us some of the most complex moral dilemmas ever encountered. For instance, there is a question about whether we should focus solely on studying cosmic phenomena. Do these entities deserve privacy and autonomy? Should they have the freedom to investigate and explore unidentified aerial phenomena, UAPs, if they desire? We also ponder if we should prioritize safeguarding UAPs and the planets where they are found, acknowledging the rights of those who may require our aid. Alternatively, should we anticipate cooperation and mutual sharing between both parties? Do we carry the responsibility of demonstrating respect and acceptance for UAPs, planets, major moons, and their locations, or should such sentiments be reciprocated? Moreover, we need to consider the potential risks and benefits associated with encounters and communication with intelligent species. This includes understanding the potential impact on humanity. These deliberations should guide us as we investigate evidence of unidentified aerial phenomena on Mars or other celestial bodies within the solar system. They highlight that the quest for extraterrestrial life surpasses mere scientific inquiry. It is deeply philosophical and ethical, with implications that surpass our immediate comprehension. Essentially, this quest is driven not just by curiosity but also by enrichment, mindfulness, duty, and reverence. The search for extraterrestrial life, as space exploration, is a multi-sided quest that is not a mere quest for discovery. It strives to reveal the goal and the inherent meaning behind our search, giving a view of the universe and our role in it. The mysterious face on Mars, which is a geological composition in the Cydonia area, is one of the amazing phenomena on Mars that provokes researchers and people all over the world. The face on Mars was first recorded by the imaging system attached to the Viking 1 spacecraft in 1976. The picture had an altitude of 1,873 kilometers and depicted a geological formation that looked like a human face, with a length and width of 1.2 miles and 0.7 miles, respectively. During that time, the discovery sparked a lot of curiosity and discussion, and some researchers even suggested that the formation could have once been part of an elaborate system that may have included the buildings of an entire city or base, constituting a very large complex. The concept of a face on Mars as a relic of an ancient civilization became popular after it was learned that the image changed shape when viewed from different angles and under various lighting conditions. This made researchers think that this glyph could be a form of art or religious symbolism, possibly to express underlying meaning. Although NASA asserts that the face on Mars is an optical illusion and a product of a subconscious process called pareidolia, where individuals tend to perceive familiar formations like human faces in random shapes or patterns, various views on this subject reveal the complex nature of the investigation of other planets that may also lead to significant discoveries, questioning our understanding of the universe. NASA, who had already refuted the facts earlier about the existence of a face on Mars, also stated that people had seen only a natural landform shaped by wind and water erosion over millions of years. NASA informs us that similarly shaped hills and mesas located in the Cydonia region only reinforce this line of explanation, and that the face on Mars is not a big mystery but rather a misinterpretation of natural geological formations. Moving to the Phobos monolith on Mars's moon, Phobos is certainly an amazing enigma that has universally evoked curiosity and speculation. Back in 1998, astronauts aboard NASA's Mars Global Surveyor managed to capture an image of a great rectangle on the surface of Phobos, which has since been referred to as the Phobos monolith. The source and features of the Phobos monolith have followed different speculations. It is hypothesized by some scientists that this structure may be a natural ejection of rock from Phobos's surface as a consequence of impact or volcanic activity. Still, others suspect that the rock could be part of a meteorite that broke apart in a collision with an asteroid or comet. Nevertheless, there remains a mystery involving the Phobos monolith. Even though NASA has been silent and refused to comment on the incident or provide any further explanation, the Phobos monolith is also called a UAP, unidentified aerial phenomenon, or UFO, unidentified flying object, due to the lack of evidence and theories. Regardless of public skepticism, NASA has yet to offer a satisfactory explanation or deploy any spacecraft to directly investigate these phenomena, thereby keeping them as ongoing mysteries that may be explained by the possibility of extraterrestrial life or intelligence within our solar system. Another interesting enigma is Saturn's hexagon located at its northern pole. This geometric pattern, which is approximately 32,000 kilometers long and is aligned with Saturn's rotational angle, has led scientists to suggest different mechanisms to explain its occurrence. For some scientists, one possibility lies in the dynamics of the planet's atmosphere, while for others, a fashionable explanation might be attributed to extraterrestrial influence. The hexagon was first observed on Saturn's North Pole in 1981, when the Voyager 1 spacecraft originally recorded it. The same curiosity has led to the continuation of mission studies among others, including the Cassini-Huygens mission. The hexagon is perceived as a strong closed weather system with a wind speed of about 500 km per hour. Even though scientists present their hypotheses and rumors about Saturn's North Pole hexagon, there is still no evidence that our planet's satellites can pick up possible signals or transmissions coming from a hexagon or any other side of Saturn, which consequently indicates that there is no proof of the establishment of aliens or communications. Saturn's hexagon still amazes the scientific community after decades and has led to questions about its nature and origin. Hence, the hypotheses and conjectures vary. Some even argue that it can fall into the category of unidentified flying objects, UFOs, that can come from Saturn, its moons, or any other part of the solar system. Whether it has any relation to Saturn or its moons is unknown, and its possible interactions with extraterrestrial life or intelligence cannot be determined either. Nevertheless, this could equally be a natural abnormality that deserves further research and investigation to reveal its true character. The luminous spots on Ceres, the largest asteroid in the asteroid belt and the only dwarf planet, are of great value to the research community, especially via the recent discovery of the lights on Ceres phenomenon in the Achater crater. These spots have different appearances and intensities from various vantage points and distances. The shining points are a complex and baffling phenomenon for scientists. The Dawn spacecraft, which focused on Ceres from 2015 to 2018, captured the dwarf planet's remarkable features at close range, revealing specifics of the bright parts for which Ceres was notorious. Scientists discovered that the bright spots are deposits mainly made of sodium carbonates, a compound of sodium, carbon, and oxygen. They suspect that the liquid traveling from deep below the surface evaporated, leaving behind a highly reflective crust. Nevertheless, the source of this liquid remained a mystery until fairly recently. Through the assessment of the information gathered at the end of the Dawn mission, scientists determined that the source of brine salt-laden water came from a deep reservoir. The results, which present information about the highest level of geological activity within a crater, were announced in an exclusive issue of Nature Astronomy, Nature Geoscience, and Nature Communications on August 10, 2018. These discoveries evidence the outstanding accomplishments of the Dawn mission, which not only placed the first spacecraft in the asteroid belt but also provided insights into the development and growth of the asteroid belt and its largest inhabitants. Nevertheless, some observers suggest that the unknown lights seen on Ceres might not be natural but could indicate the presence of aliens. According to this line of thinking, the lights could potentially be artificial structures or devices designed to fulfill specific functions related to Ceres's energy, climate, or communication. Alternatively, others propose that they may convey symbolic or communicative messages, possibly linked to the planet's historical or cultural significance. Spiritual beliefs and the fact that these lights are on the planet Ceres imply the possible presence of extraterrestrial life or intelligence within our solar system. While the intriguing factor behind these bright lights draws a lot of attention, NASA nevertheless decides to stay mum regarding their cause, not giving any official explanations or conducting research on them. Moreover, NASA has not explored these phenomena and did not detect any communications or signs of extraterrestrial activity coming from Ceres. Meanwhile, the lights seen on Ceres have yet to be identified and explained, which would either categorize them as unidentified aerial phenomena, UAP, or UFOs, depending on the type of evidence and rationale used to explain their origins. They could be either natural or artificial, just like those of Ceres and its moons. On the contrary, they may be random or even intentional events with no relevance to the entire Ceres system. They could be proof or hints of life or intelligence beyond the solar system. Finally, there may just be an unresolved wonder and mystery that requires extensive research and explanation. The mysterious images seen on the surface of Ceres remain unanswered until proven or disproved, with the help of associated evidence and theories used to yield the same results. These frequently seen objects are known as unidentified aerial objects, UFOs, or aerial phenomena, UAPs. Their source may belong to either a natural or artificial group, which may be Ceres, its moons, or something else. The bright areas can be interpreted as either accidental or purposeful events, which can possess implications for the origin of Ceres and its satellites. They can provide evidence that may show there is extraterrestrial life or intelligence in our solar system, or they could simply be an enigmatic riddle requiring more research and clarity. Next, we turn our attention to Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, which has gained much attention from specialists after the disclosure of mysterious plumes simulating geysers. Water vapor eruptions on Europa, reaching heights of up to 160 kilometers, have been noted to fluctuate in power and frequency in connection with Europa's orbital position and Jupiter's gravitational effects. These plumes are frequently close to fractures or openings in the surface of Europa. The Hubble Space Telescope discovered these plumes in 2012, later confirmed by the Galileo spacecraft. The estimated maximum flow rate of Europa's plumes is about 7,000 kilograms per second, while the maximum flow rate from Enceladus, another moon with such plumes, is about 200 kilograms per second. If confirmed, these plumes could provide an opportunity for a flyby through the plume and allow for sample analysis without having to use a lander and drill through kilometers of ice. A study published in November 2020 suggested that the plumes may originate from water within the crust of Europa, as opposed to the subsurface ocean. The study's model proposed that a combination of freezing and pressurization may result in at least some of the cryovolcanic activity, which could burst through the crust and create these plumes. The atmosphere of Europa is primarily composed of oxygen and trace amounts of water vapor produced in a non-biological manner through radiolysis, the dissociation of molecules through radiation. The surface-bounded atmosphere forms through radiolysis as solar ultraviolet radiation and charged particles from the Jovian magnetospheric environment collide with the icy surface, creating water vapor that is instantaneously separated into oxygen and hydrogen constituents. Thank you for joining us. We're eager to hear your thoughts on the recent discovery in the NASA photo. Stay tuned for more.